welcome. Welcome everybody to the Variphy house party. My name is Phil Corbin, Sales and Marketing Director here at Variphy. For those of you who attended Block Party in June, welcome back. Over the next 2.5 hours or so, we're going to cover all things Variphy: demos, deep dives, product announcements, customer success stories, and also hand out over $5K in prizes to lucky attendees throughout the event. To qualify for the prize, please log into the chat on the right of your screen. That way we know that you're attending. Also, at the end of the day, we're going to be giving away a grand prize over $3K. So make sure to stay on the live stream to win and log into the chat so we can tell that you are on the stream. Also, if you have any questions throughout the event today, please ask them in the chat on the right-hand side. We have CDR Ninjas standing by to answer all of your questions. So what we're going to do now is kind of go around the screen and introduce ourselves. We have Danimal here to do that. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Phil. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Schmidt, Systems Engineer here at Variphy. I want to personally thank everyone for joining our reoccurring Variphy house party. We've got a lot in store for you all today. I want to give a huge kudos to everyone on our panel shown on today's screen. There's been a lot of work and effort in a relatively short amount of time, so I want to thank everyone for joining today. So included in our panel today is Lane Hu, co-founder of Variphy. He and I will be presenting a future roadmap here in just a few minutes. For our other systems engineers on the panel, please meet Mike Stratton, aka Magic Mike, Matt Sykes, aka Eddie Ice, Victor Verba, aka CDR Jesus, support engineer Dre Divatz, also known as the producer, the man behind the scenes making this all possible for us today. And last but not least, please meet our new customer success team, aka Dream Team, consisting of Andy Dang, Tom Nguyen, Bandy Lee, and Jenna Nguyen. They'll be raffling off some amazing prizes here throughout today's events. So now that we've met the panel, let's discuss what we can all expect today. With the huge success that we saw from in our inaugural virtual block party back in June, we wanted to continue on with the success and meet up with everyone to share some roadmap updates, provide some technical deep dives, and of course, give away some amazing prizes. Many of you who also attended that event back in June will notice that the flow and style of today's session will be very similar. This time around, we are aware that many in our space and market are continuing to play multiple roles at home due to COVID. We all have become work from home experts, at home teachers for us that have kids, and we do realize that all of this absolutely takes a toll on one's mental and physical health. So with this, you will see a bit of a theme with our prize giveaways in today's house party session. Now more than ever, we all should or need really to focus on our personal wellness. So you'll see many prizes related to that. So with all that out of the way, we have a packed agenda to lay it all out for us today. I'll pass it back over to Phil. Phil?
Right on. Thank you, Dan. We have an action-packed day here. Directly following this, we're going to have the product roadmap. We have Lane, our co-founder, and Dan, systems engineer here at Variphy. We're going to give you all a sneak peek on what's on the horizon here at Variphy, what's in the works, what's coming out this year and beyond. We're also going to get into our highly anticipated cloud offering. Lane, again, our co-founder, head of product dev, will be taking you through this new feature live. So make sure you hang on and check it out. You do not want to miss this. Throughout the event, we also have customer success stories. We have JT from Cardtronics, Nicholas from Sacred Heart Hospital, and Deshaun from a very large hospital in Tampa. They're going to be sharing their personal experiences using Variphy, how it's impacted their day-to-day workflow and business outcomes. We always like to hear great experiences from using our software and our loyal customers. So stick around for that. Product deep dive from our CDR Ninjas. Vic, Matt, and Mike are standing by to take you through UCCX reporting and some new 12.2 updates that have been applied to that. After the deep dive, we're going to stop for Q&A. If you have any questions, please ask them on the right-hand side in the chat. We'll get those questions answered. Then at the end of the live stream, we'll have Dre and Jenna. Dre, our producer, and also systems engineer, and Jenna from the customer success team. We're going to be announcing the 3K package grand prize winner. If you are the lucky winner, you get to choose from 4 packages valued each at $3,000. We have the DIY tool set. We have the ultimate camping package, the Mega Gaming Package with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X included. And also, I know we all been sheltering in place. We have the Vacation Getaway Package when we're ready to go somewhere. So flights, luggage, you name it for that Vacation Getaway Package. But I think it's time. We have our first prize alert. I'm going to pass it to Annie and Tom in Cali, our dream team, to announce the first lucky winner for today. Over to you, Annie and Tom.
Thanks for the shout out, Phil. And hi, everyone. Welcome back to our house party number 2. You guys know, my name's Annie Dang. I'm your favorite renewal specialist, and I'm here with Tom, your favorite account manager.
Hey, what's up, everyone? What's going on?
So in this first round, we're going to be giving away the massage chair, the one that Tom is sitting on right now. As you guys may know, we have been working from home, so we're a lot sore. So with this massage chair, you can work on your laptop and sit there for 8 hours. So in this round, our lucky winner is Tony Capo. Congratulations, Tony Capo. You have won our massage chair. Don't forget to stick around at the end of the target. I'll be contacting you via email. Now I'm going to hand it back to Lane and Dan for our product roadmap.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you. So for our first session today, we are going to be focusing on our product update. Joined with me today is Lane Hu, co-founder of Variphy. First, we'll be going over our newly released 12.2.1 shipping soon next week. After that, we'll go over some of the long-term product updates for 12.2.2 and then onward, and then specifying product development horizon. So what's in the newly released 12.2.1? So many of you have been involved with this release in an EFT fashion since September 30th. Many of you have provided great feedback, and we certainly appreciate that. Note that this release will become generally available November 4th, so just next week. And a couple main features that you would expect to see in this main release are much anticipated CDR and UCCX report history repository, a great way to keep track of all your reports that were previously ran in the system and get some additional inside information about those reports. In a minute, I'll show you the ins and outs of the report repository. Next is our new custom label sets for CDR and UCCX, being able to override search criteria options and detail column options, override that versus our default options. Next is support for DID management international number strings, giving you the ability to really put in any digit string other than the US dial pattern number. So we're really looking forward to that. And last but not least, the main feature of this release is our new UCCX time period analytics for agent and CSQ based reports. I'm not going to get too much into this because I know we have our CDR ninjas later on in a deep dive session that will be covering this. Also to announce for 12.2.1, we are announcing end of support for IE11, as well as UCM, CUC, and UCCX, anything prior to 10. So 10 and above is what we'll support going forward in this release. Okay. So really quick, jumping back over to my demo server here, talking a little bit about some of these new features here before I hand it over to Lane. The first feature discussed is our new report repository. So within our application, when we go into reports, you'll see a new link here next to manage. We call it repository. And this repository is a really quick and easy way. Think of it as a print queue to, one, get additional information regarding that report, the status of that report, and other ways to share out that report. So me logging in as an administrator, I have the ability now to search for reports that myself has ran or other reports has ran. So I'm going to search for all reports here, and we can search for all reports going back to a designated time frame here. So I'm going to say current and previous month, and we'll do a search here. And we see one report here that was ran back in the day, September 1st, a report called internal calls. We will give you the file size of the report. So if, for instance, you are emailing this report and you suspect that maybe it's too large and it's not ending up to the recipient, you may want to check here and see that the file size isn't that large. So it's a good troubleshooting step in that term. We'll show you and tell you the cluster that this report was ran off of. If you have multiple clusters, we'll indicate those as well. The search time window of data included in this report, the user that ran the report, and the status of this report. If this report was failed before delivery, we will indicate that as such. The best thing, or the most interesting thing to my liking though, is the new URL access to this report. Okay, we could simply enable URL access and then copy a link out. Whoever should be getting this report, you could share that URL. And the benefit of this is, traditionally you would email an attachment, and that attachment might be large, or you might have multiple sendings of the same report. Instead of getting multiple emails or multiple files, you could simply share out the URL. When you give this to your colleague, they'll simply browse to this URL and it will immediately download the file attachment. So it's a very nice way of getting your reports instead of the traditional email or FTP way. Okay. All right. To manage all of this, we now have a section in our application settings that does an automatic purge of our reports in our repository. So if I scroll down, we see a new section in our new release called Report History Repository Settings. And this is simply a way to set up the system, to embed the host name of the server, to maintain a purge cycle. So you can see here, our repository max disk usage is 1 gigabyte. You could customize this to whatever you need. And once the reports in the repository exceed a 1 gigabit or gigabyte limit, we're going to start purging off the old reports to make room for the new reports being ran. With this, we also do have a usage alert. So this is saying if I reach within 70% of my max disk usage, it's going to trigger an alert and send me an email to notify me that my partition for repository reports is almost exceeded. Okay. Scrolling down here, we do have two different settings, one for CUCM-based reports and another for contact center-based reports. So you could manage those as you wish. So that in a nutshell is our new report repository feature. Next, let's talk about our custom labels. Very high level, this is a way to associate custom names, custom label sets to user-based access, okay? So when we go into our CDR or UCSX reporting tool, under configure here, we'll now see a link called custom label sets. And I'll pick on Matt here. Matt's created a label set. If I just go into this real quick, you'll see that now we have the option of overriding our default name with a custom name. You can name this anything you want, and this appears in the detail columns within the detail section of your report. This will also override your search criteria options, your grouping, your primary grouping type options, as well as your call statistics and scenario types. So, maybe what we call abandon call, you want to rename it to something else. You can certainly do that now, okay? This is applied on a per user basis. So when you go into your users, accounts, and groups, once it's loaded up, I'll go ahead and select a user here. I'll select that test here. And when you scroll down, if they have access to a call analytics feature, okay, all the way at the bottom, you'll see the new section for call analytics settings. So this is, as an administrator, allowing this user to pick one or more custom label sets. And this, again, this is by cluster type. So you'll have all your label sets associated to a call manager cluster versus all your custom label sets for contact center type clusters. Okay. When that user then logs in, they're going to pick and choose what labels they want to apply to their view. Okay. So an excellent way of maybe changing the name so it's maybe a little bit more understandable for a non-manager or non-technical type user. We have now the solution to do that. Next, really quick here is our support for DID management international number support. So when we configure DID blocks, previously we were only able to provision US dial pattern numbers. So now if we go into numbering info, we now see a drop-down code, and instead of assuming that it's a North America dial string, you could pick your country, and that's going to embed a, if I pick United Kingdom here, we now go with number ranges. This could be any string of digits. So whatever number of string of digits matches those DID dial plans. Once you save this, when you're using the actual utility for DID management, we will parse those digits out into readable format for the respective country that you select. Okay, so If it's UK, we'll parse out country code and the local area code for the United Kingdom. So that is also new in Verify 12.2. Okay, last but not least is our UCCX period over period time analytics. Okay, so let me switch over to my UCCX cluster here real quick. And going into reports, we will now see, I'll just edit any one of these here. Now, when we edit any one of our CSQ or agent-based contact center reports, we are actually going to allow you to change the formatting a bit. So this is the new fashion that you expect to see. Traditionally, previous to this release, you would have just a summary statistics table, and that's it. You now can embed other components within these reports to get more time-based analytics, both in graph or bar or line graph and or summary table period over period. I'm not going to get too deep into this because I don't want to steal the thunder for Vic and the other SEs. We'll be going over this much more in detail later on in today's session. So those are pretty much the 4 major features that you will expect to see in 12.2 to be released next week, November 4th. So that is all I have for our current release 12.2. Lane, I'll hand it over to you to discuss long-term feature product updates.
Awesome job, Dan. Thank you. Hopefully not too long-term here. Before I dig into this, I'm going to go and share here. I want to thank everybody who's joining us today, either for the first time or again since joining us in June. I think you'll like the format here. It's a pretty honest and clear view into what's obviously been worked on recently, and then more importantly, maybe for many of you, what's being worked on already right now, what's coming down the pipe in the next few months. So excited to share this all with you. The vast majority, if not all of this, is directly from customer feedback and partner feedback, and many of you directly. So we take that to heart. It goes right to our product planning team. We figure out how to productize it for everybody in a way that makes sense. It's flexible. Can work with all of the different environments that we'll see out there and we see every day. That's what makes it fun. So let me go and jump in here, and thanks, Dan, for walking right through what should be releasing next week. We honestly weren't sure whether we should release it on the day of election or not, so we chose November 4th on Wednesday to be safe. Let me share with you what's already being worked on and what we hopefully will get out in the next few releases here, perhaps one before the end of the year, and then of course into 2021 as well. So we, on the heels of 12.2.1, which will have many time interval based analytics for CCX, we're going to do some dashboard improvements as well. The first one is really the next level for our real-time agent widget, which was released about a year ago in version 12.1. This ties directly into Finesse, gives you a very real-time view into the status and performance and activity of all your real-time agents. And what we're going to let you do is pick and choose how you want to sort those. We've gotten a lot of feedback, and it makes sense that you may want to see working or talking or not ready or ready in different orders that make sense for different widgets based upon different queues and different resource groups, et cetera. So we're going to let you choose a primary as well as a secondary sorting option there. And then obviously we've chosen these colors for you. We've actually spent a lot of time choosing the colors based upon compliance with accessibility and making sure that contrast is pretty well. But we get that these aren't the perfect colors for everybody. So we're certainly looking into how we can make those fully customizable, which make sense for you or for those who are maybe vision impaired. Second extension of this is really building on top of our time interval analytics for CSQs and for agent reports. And you're going to see some new widgets coming down the pipe here with time-based options for queue and agent activity, let's say by 15-hour increment or by hour or day of week, hour, day, weekly, monthly, et cetera. So I personally see many different permutations of options we can do here. So we're going to productize those and make those as configurable as possible, as we always do, such as between bar and line graphs, different colors, different time metrics, to kind of let you guys pick and choose what makes sense to you. Next, something I'm pretty excited about is improvements to how we deliver reports and alerts. We currently, as many of you use, you can download reports, you can email them, you can even FTP them. Many almost forget that that's a possibility. With our new repository feature that's coming out now, you can obviously get those links directly too. So we're gonna step it up just another step here and actually integrate chat. Chat's something that we all use today, and I'm sure in some fashion. So we're gonna initially support chat integration as a platform with Cisco's WebEx Teams as well as Cisco Jabber. We have other ones that we're looking at doing down the road as well, to give you a more real-time delivery of both reports, but potentially also, not potentially, but definitely also CDR alerts. Chats by definition are persistent, so you don't have to worry about saving them. They get automatically saved by whatever platform provider you're using, so that's nice and handy. So by using this, we can send messages, we can send reports either as a link or as a file attachment directly. So here's a example here where with WebEx Teams, I had dark mode here. This agent report got delivered via our chatbot right to my WebEx Teams channel, and I can download it, view it right from there. There's no need to go into email anymore. Same thing with a CDR alert. It's a much more real-time view into what's going on. All right. Next, one of the bigger items that we're working on now, and have been working on for a few months already, is support for Cisco Cube. This is something that I spoke about in June. It's a logical extension to what we're doing for call analytics already for Cisco. So we're going to take our same approach, our call history, our reports, our scheduling, our CDR alerts, our dashboard widgets, our custom labels, which is now new, and we're going to adapt those all to Cube. Whether you have one cube or several cubes in your environment, we can support each one of them. You'll be able to configure them all separately via our clusters tab. There'll be a new cube/iOS option there. Because we're choosing CSV-based file accounting as the most reliable way to get this CDR information, it's going to support both cube, but as well as iOS for those who are still running CME. All right, we'll be able to support either compact or detailed formats. Our application will detect each and every file that comes our way. If it's compact, we'll store it as compact. If it's detailed, we'll store it as detailed and let you use that data accordingly. So excited about that. You'll see here in some of these slides, I actually have a little Variphy Cloud logo, and we'll talk more about this in the next segment. But this has also been a big feature we've been working on, and Cube will definitely be cloud supported as well. But I'll speak more about that in about 15 minutes. The next one is monitoring and alerting. This is something that we've spoken to many customers and partners about for several years. I'll be honest, and it's something that we really believe is the right next step for us as a company. We're going to continue to support all of our call analytics for several platforms, but we're also going to add these additional metrics into giving you the ability to monitor, track, and get alerts on the health and performance of your UC environment. So whether you're talking about number one, which is CCX agent and activity, we have wallboarding and you can get visual thresholds today, but we've got a lot of requests, which makes total sense to get alerts based upon queue and agent performance, even if you don't have the wallboard actually up, or if you want those alerts to be sent to you via email or even chat. So we're going to definitely look to do that. In addition, we're going to step up our CDR alerting and do robo-dialing alerts. So and other metrics that actually require a bit more extensive analysis of your CDRs. Perhaps every 10 or 15 minutes, we'll look at and see how many calls are happening at the same time. Do you have toll fraud or the drop call errors? And then the third one, which is really taking our RTMT to the next level and having a web-based configurable way to look at incidents, get alerted on hunt group and hunt list member activity, the health of your servers, whether it's CUCM, presence, unique connection, or CCX. Grab and see which logs are available from all those application servers and just provide a more seamless experience, all via the web, so you don't have to actually run RTMT on a separate box. So excited about this as this comes to fruition here, and we'll certainly be talking to many of you and getting some feedback as we have about fleshing these out, but pretty excited about these as well. Some additional thoughts, improvements that I just wanted to mention, which are either in being worked on now or in concept phase or stuff that we're looking at closely. Starting in the upper left, we're obviously always working on adding bells and whistles based upon feedback. So we're continually adding new grouping types for CDRs. So whether we're doing grouping types for accounting or other combinations of primary and secondary grouping types, we're always working on those, and there will be some new ones coming down the pipe here. We'll be archiving and partitioning CDR databases across multiple servers to get better use of resources, as well as having some organization into all of our reports using a folder structure. I think that's going to make it a lot easier to find reports, assign permissions, etc. We've got a lot of feedback on this bottom left area here, and I think one of the things that makes sense to do is to add more flexible licensing to support consolidation of clusters. So we're working on something there to, we have a lot of cases where we've heard and worked with many customers who are moving phones from cluster A to cluster B, or combining 3 clusters into one. So we're gonna have our product be a bit more flexible with helping you guys do that, so you don't have to come back to us for a new license key each time that's being done. And of course, we'll be adding some dashboard control sharing enhancements, so you can have other users modify dashboards that you've shared to them, and just to make life certainly much easier. On the right side is more of a horizon view as to where this industry is going, which we're keenly keeping track of and listening to. So certainly staying on track of Cisco with their WebEx Spark calling, and there's other formats for call analytics that we're keeping our eye on very closely. I didn't want to mention them here because we're not committed to them quite just yet, or we don't quite know our priority, but WebEx Spark calling is certainly on our horizon there, as well as life beyond Cisco. We've heard from many partners, many customers that they are not only a Cisco shop, or they may not always be a Cisco shop forever down the road. So we're certainly looking at which other platforms make sense to do, and we've begun some work there as well. So with that, we can pause, Dan, and take a few questions. Sound good?
Yeah, thanks, Lane. Excellent job. We've got a slew of questions coming in here. So I'll try to get as much in as the time allows here. So a couple questions regarding around the performance monitoring that you just spoke of. Robin would like to wonder if we would be able to provide UCCX type metrics, but for hunt groups. Will the performance monitoring be able to monitor hunt groups and provide additional analytics into what's going on in hunt groups?
Absolutely. So we actually able to look at both hunt pilot and hunt list activity. So are they up? Are they online? Are they registered to which server? That's more the hunt list status. And then how many members are available? So absolutely, Dan. And that's something that we're looking at doing both for alerting, but also as a set of new dashboard widget options. So that's actually pretty exciting to see that information being viewed from both ends. So
excellent. Follow-up question from Rob, very similar, and I believe the answer is yes, but I'll let you confirm, is instead of relying on the CMR data or the QoS data in file format, would performance monitoring allow us to do better QoS analysis?
That's a good question. I'll have to take a look at that. I'm not sure that it provides a whole plethora of additional data that the CMR doesn't. We'll have to jot that one down and double check that.
Excellent, thanks. Peterson asks, would it be possible to combine the CUCM CDR data and Cube CDR data in order to provide a full view like cradle to grave, full call flow?
Yeah, you want to take that one, or?
Yeah, I'll take that. Excellent. So yeah, unfortunately, the fields that we get in CUCM CDR are completely different from what Cube is going to give us. There's always room for error, false positives when we start looking at doing fuzzy logic. So we're actually going to classify the Cube data as its own data source, separate from CUCM CDR. Now we could certainly grab and store each set of data individually in its own database. But yeah, there's no link in between the two sets of data between Cube and Call Manager.
Yeah, on that note, I would say it certainly makes sense for us to look at whether we can do some correlation with the call-in party and the ANI numbers to see if there's some reliable way to link those two. But at the same time, I don't want to present calls that appear to be linked that really in actuality are not. So
our friend Lou asks, with our widget type information, the period over period widgets that we're looking to do, is that going to be able to embed into Finesse? So you can have it as a widget within Finesse.
Oh, that's right. Finesse has a widget, their own widget structure, I believe, in XML format.
Yes.
That's a good question. It's not on our immediate horizon. I think I've heard that request, and I know it's possible before. So yeah, we'll certainly look at that and see If our format can be embedded well in Finesse, it makes sense to minimize the number of sources you have to get information. So yeah, we'll certainly look at that as well.
Very good. Yves asks, you mentioned chat support for alerting and report links and such. He wants to know if Microsoft Teams would be supported as well. We kind of thought that question would come up. So not in an immediate sense, but medium to long term, we will be looking into Microsoft delivery. What we would like is more input from our users. What are you expecting? What would you like to see in that function? So it is in the back of our minds. We look to talk a little bit more with the customer base to get a better idea of, is it just alerting or just reporting? But yeah, medium to long-term roadmap that's on.
Yeah, we looked at we're looking at our customer, thinking about our customer base and our partner community, and we look at, there's really, in my mind, 4 chat platforms that are out there. WebEx Teams, Jabber, Microsoft Teams, and then probably Slack. Those are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so we're going to start with the first 2, which is WebEx and Jabber. Number 3 would be Microsoft Teams, and number 4 might be Slack. But again, we definitely want some input from all of you out there to see what you're using, what makes sense, what would make sense for how you guys are operating. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Lane. A couple more questions here. So TJ asked, this goes back to the beginning of the session here for the DID international number support. TJ asked, will there be any way to auto detect DIDs in the future? So I could take that one, Lane. So TJ, DIDs, unless you're using full 10-digit or 11-digit E164 numbers, so your internal DNs are actually your DIDs. If you're not using that, Call Manager doesn't know about DIDs, except unless it's a translation pattern, then of course will. Yeah, so I mean, to us, we're speaking and communicating directly with Call Manager. So unless those 2 things match, we would not be able to auto detect DIDs. Now we do have an import feature for DIDs, which is a very, very easy way. You basically just copy your block, your own block that your carrier provides you, into our CSV template. It imports it. Very nice and clean, easy way of getting those numbers in there if your numbering pattern isn't full 10 or 11-digit E164 dialing.
Yeah, I would. Thanks, Dan. I would also add that one of the challenges with auto discovering that out of CUCM is that CUCM doesn't have the concept of which IDs or which actual DIDs you actually have but aren't using, because they won't exist in CUCM, versus DIDs that maybe are numerically in your block, but you actually don't have them because it wasn't available from your provider, right? There's a difference there. And so in both those cases, that DID would not exist in CUCM, but in only one of those cases is it actually available to be used. And so the reason we came up with our DID block system was because you could then specify which DIDs you actually have versus which IDs you actually don't via exclusions, and that way we can marry that up with your CUCM always in real time.
Yeah. Excellent response. Thanks, Lane. Just a few more questions here. I want to get to as most as possible. Daniel, going back to the URL share for the report repository, Daniel wants to know, does users have to authenticate into Variphy to be able to view that report with the URL access? No, the quick answer, basically when you share out that URL, it's going to browse to a landing page within the application and automatically download that file. So there is no authentication. Ideally, you'd probably want it to go to a trusted user or its rightful owner of who you're trying to send that report to. But yeah, no authentication for URL shares.
It's a pretty cryptic looking URL. So we chose this route, almost like an incoming webhook for those who have played around with Cisco's WebEx Team bots. But you'd have to guess the URL to get to it, which would be pretty difficult. So.
Yep. One last question here. I believe it was answered in chat, but I'll announce it for everyone else here. Nicholas is wondering if there's going to be a feature that would allow members of his staff to see productivity and use of hard phones versus remote phones like Jabber. For that, we could already do that today. Your CDR report would primarily be grouped by device name or user and device. So you should be able to get a differentiation between hard phones and soft phones already in today's application.
Yep, all of our call analytics features, dashboard widgets included, have the ability to marry up your CDR usage data with the actual type of device that was involved with the call, either inbound or from the inbound or the outbound side. That information is not in CDR, but we marry that up so you can see whether it's a Jabber client, a 7841, an 8865, an IP communicator, whatever device it is, you can marry that up accordingly. So.
All right, that is all the questions we have at this point. So Lane, I'll let you hand it off.
All right, I think it's time to give out another prize. Dream team, wanna take the ball and give that away?
Hey everyone, I'm Jenna and this is Fandy.
Hello.
Some of you might have met us over email and web calls before. We are the success manager here and we're super excited for today's event since it is our very first house party.
Alrighty, the first winner that I get to announce will be receiving a Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G. Comes with 128 gigabytes, so many storage for pictures, videos, anything, and long-lasting battery plus a stylus pen. And the lucky winner is Peter Kamsaye. Congratulations, Peter.
And up next, we have Lane and Dan sharing something extremely exciting to all of us, the verified cloud. Take it away, Lane and Dan.
All right, thanks Dream Team and welcome back. Long time no chat. Here we are again. Very excited to be talking about and presenting and sharing a lot more information about this particular topic. As you can see on the screen here, we've been working on this past this year, starting into late last year. We put a lot of thought into this, and this is coming to fruition here, and we're really excited to kind of share with you where we are, how it works. I'll give you a little demo here in just a couple seconds. And talk you through our timing and how you can be involved. And this is something that, for us, I believe will be a true game changer. So Verified Cloud, let's get right into it. What I'm going to do first, actually, is go right into a little demo here. I think that might be appreciated by all of you out there the most, to see that it's real. So. Verified Cloud is our cloud version of what many of you are already accustomed to with using our call analytics on premise. The goal of this is really two things. One is to give you the exact same user experience that you're getting today with on-premise. And two, to make it hybrid. So meaning you can use us for on-premise and you can use us for cloud or both. And you can pick and choose which clusters you want to be either or both. Particularly for our upcoming EFT and beta, makes total sense to continue using Verify for on-premise to get those key production reports flowing, but also duplicate the feed into our cloud so we can test out consistency, you can get familiar and comfortable with our cloud operation, and then make the switch when you're ready to. So what you're seeing here is our Verify Cloud instance that we spun up late last week just for this house party. And what you see here is we actually have a unique URL. And this will be something that every one of our customers, when they go to our cloud, will be able to choose your own unique subdomain that makes sense to you. Of course, it has to be actually unique and available and meet our standards, but assuming that's all good, you'll have your own URL to get to it. We will support SAML for SSO, so we can go ahead and have you log in via there. And what you're seeing here is the same dashboard that many of you probably have or seen or use within your local environments today. And so those same ones can be replicated here. As well as, of course, our call analytics features, our call history, reports, all the same features that you're getting with our on-premise today. One thing I wanted to point out is what you're seeing also here is we're actually still able to pull all the end user, device information, device pool, department, all that really critical CUCM information and data that is not actually in your Cisco CDR. One of the reasons why many of you have chosen us to be your call analytics provider is because we automatically pull that information out of CUCM on premise, marry it up with your CDR, let you search on it, let you report on it, let you view it, let you run all your analytics based upon those values that make sense to you, not the phone number, but the end user name, not the phone's MAC address, but the type of phone it is or the description that it has. The same thing will be possible with cloud. And what's nice about that is you won't have to have your CUCM having an internet connection to push data up to us. That's an important piece that I wanted to point out because I believe it differentiates us out there with other cloud providers for CDR in the marketplace. We thought about this long and hard, and we really didn't want to ask any of our customers to open up internet connection from CUCM to our cloud in order to get billing information. And second, we certainly didn't want to have you maintain a user directory for which users have which phones and which extensions and which devices are which. That's still automatically all done by our software. It's now just running in the cloud. So let me talk a little bit about how that actually works. Go back to share here. So what I showed you was the verified cloud instance, which is actually hosted by Google Cloud. What actually happens behind the scenes is we have what's called a collector. This collector will run within your existing on-premise installation of Variphy, which many of you will continue to have and to use, because many of our other features like remote phone control, change management, snapshots, as-built reporting, CCX wallboards, those are going to still remain on-premise. Many of those, I'm not sure can ever be really cloudified, if that's a word, because that requires a more real-time connection to your CUCM, to your Finesse, to your phones. And I'm not sure that that's something that we want to enable from our cloud, at least not just yet. So we're going to have a new feature, which is really all it is, which can be turned on in our collector and configured. This collector will essentially facilitate data from your CUCM, your CDR data, as well as your end user device pool, department, all that important metadata that's not in a CDR. It'll gather from CUCM, push it up to our cloud, encrypt it along the way, make sure our cloud gets it. That way, what you're using in the cloud will have the exact same look and feel and the exact same data that you would have locally. We're going to do this for CUCM, of course, and since Cube is a new supported feature for us coming down soon, we're going to support Cube with our cloud as well. I'm pretty excited about this, just because it's going to have the exact same kind of user experience that you're already used to on-premise. There'll be nothing that's missing, so to speak. Right? I spoke about hybrid. I think this is a really important concept. You don't have to go entirely to cloud. You don't have to stay entirely on premise. You can mix and match as it makes sense to you according to your timing. So if you have 5 clusters and you want to have 3 in the cloud and 2 on premise, certainly can do that. You can have them, or certainly have them all cloud and all on premise for a certain period of time until you're ready to flip the switch. So we're certainly happy about that. I spoke about this, but we're going to use Google to host our operations with Kubernetes. They're FedRAMP certified. We took a good long look at them in Azure and actually Amazon AWS. In my opinion, you can't really go wrong with any of those 3. We chose Google Cloud first. We felt they were the most flexible and had the best technology for what we're trying to do, but we're certainly open to exploring some of those other providers down the road as well. Okay. How is this going to work? How's it going to be priced? So we've spent also a lot of thought on pricing this, right, and building the right cost model. So we're going to change this a bit for what you guys are used to with on-premise call analytics. With on-premise, we primarily price based upon how many end users or how many phones you have. We're going to change it up a bit with cloud because that's not as relevant as what your call volume is and what your retention policy is going to be. Fundamentally, what we're doing here is we're taking all that data that's currently stored on-premise today with our software, and we're going to house it for you in our cloud, right? So the more data you have, the more resources we're going to spin up, provision, and scale for you accordingly. The more RAM, the more CPUs, the more hard disk space. We're going to take all that off you and do it in our cloud. And so our pricing will primarily be based on the amount of data that you want us to house. We're going to have the concept between hot and on demand. Hot meaning you have data that you always want to be accessible and as performant as possible. On demand or cold data might be historical data that by compliance reasons you need to keep, but you don't need to actually use it all the time. Case in point is many of our customers out there have 1, 3, 5, 7 years of data that they're mandated to keep, and which our product does on-premise today. Of course, you want your most recent 6 or 12 months to be as performant and always online as possible. That's the stuff that you use the most frequently. But how often do you really access data from 3, 4, 5 years ago? You might get a request from legal once a year on that. So do you really need to have all that hot, always running, using all the resources that it could possibly use? Probably not. So we're going to have the ability for you to kind of turn on or turn off data that you don't need, and that'll share cost savings for both you and for us, which would be great. So that's currently something that we're all kind of finalizing on. We're in the home stretch across development, legal, and our business front on this. Excited to say that it's coming to fruition. With the holidays fast approaching, and a bit more legwork we have to do, we're gonna schedule bring on our first set of EFT customers for our cloud beginning as early as January 2021. So that's going to be here before we know it. We think we're going to require those initial customers to use SAML SSO, which is certainly already be supported, and they can definitely be cases where they're going to use hybrid, both on-premise with their existing version of Variphy, as well as pushing data to the cloud. As well. So if you're interested, we definitely or want to just learn more about it, and we'll certainly have more webinars about this in the coming months here. Please let your favorite AM, customer success, or Ninja know, and or let us know at beta@variphy.com, and we'll be happy to share as much as we can with you and work with you towards bringing this to a reality. So with that, I would love to stop and take any questions. Dan, I'm sure we got at least a couple, right?
Yeah, great info, Lane. A lot of questions that are coming through here. So let's go ahead and get through them here. Alex would like to know, with the cold data that you mentioned, would that be able to be downloaded and archived locally?
Potentially, yeah. Technically, that's possible. One of the reasons we're doing cloud is so that you don't have to do that. Storing cold data in our cloud I believe, can be done pretty cost effectively. So I would prefer to do that for you. But we certainly can make that technically possible. The problem is depending on the format, that can be a lot of data. We're looking at the use case, which is very common for us with all of you, or at least many of you, is that you're required by law to store, let's say, 5 years of data, and you want to keep your most 12 months hot and active, which means your older 4 years of data, once you start collecting enough, doesn't need to be online all the time. And so whenever you need to access, let's say, data from 2, 3, 4 years ago, you'll be able to turn that on via our cloud product, use what you need, and then turn it back off. That's the goal we're providing here. So yes, the answer is that's probably technically feasible, but I would prefer to do it for you.
Yeah, great concept of archiving some of that data that you don't actually, reference on a daily basis. And in the end, it utilizes less resources too. So, yeah. All right, we do have a couple questions too. So this is going back to the cube concept, but Colossal asks, will MS Teams also gather cube data if a CSR 1000 is used to support MS Teams calling? So, or actually that looks like it's from Nathan, sorry. So Nathan, as long as we are capturing that data from Cube, we have that direct integration. So Cube is actually just set up for file accounting. It's a FTP file delivery directly to us. So we're not interfacing necessarily with Microsoft or the Teams client for that data. So if you have your Microsoft Teams implementation routing through Cube, we should still see that data. Though I'm not sure, Lane, maybe you could help me with this part. Will the obviously the schema will stay the same because it's Cube data, but just the values within the schema would be a little bit different because it's coming.
Yeah, it's just like with CUCM, right? Cube and CUCM, think of it from the analogy of if they're aware of the call and they're involved with it in some way, that means they're probably aware of it. Then we'll get it. If they're not aware of it, then chances are we won't see it. Right?
Yep. A lot of statements around the announcement widget, actually not knowing that was actually in the product as of today. So a lot of people liking that they're seeing that. I believe that was introduced in 12.1.5.
That's right. Yeah, I can talk a little about that. That was introduced in 12.1.5, which I believe was around May of 5-6 months ago. That was based upon feedback from many of you. It's obviously has no integration with CUCM or CCX. It's purely a text-based widget that can be in ticker format or can wrap text. And what's nice is you can have an application-wide message that if you want to push out to any and all dashboards which have widgets that are configured to use the application message, you can do that. Or of course you can make very specific widgets that have very specific messages and share those out accordingly. So
just got a couple more questions regarding cloud. Ted states that I trust that all your data transmission between your on-site Variphy collector and the cloud is encrypted. Can you elaborate as to what encryption method is being used?
Sure. So it's actually using TLS 1.3. It's a binary protocol as well. So I can sleep at night knowing that it's as good as it can probably possibly be right now. And that data goes from our collector on your premise via TLS 1.3 up to our cloud, which of course is not hosted. This metal is not in my garage. This is in Google Cloud. So I feel really good about that. We're letting the pros be the pros, and then we're stepping in where it makes sense for us, which is, of course, writing the software to do it.
Excellent. Jack states that he's been waiting a long time for this. He's got old data in the on-prem system. What does the migration path look like to maintain their current data?
Great question. That's something that we're keenly aware of and working at. We realize that many of you have several years. I saw some of the names of the registrants on this party here, and I'm happy and excited to say that I've known many of you personally for over 10 years, which means you have maybe that much data. So that's something that we're aware of. We're figuring out what are the reasonable options for that. We recognize that you can't do a car dump from 7 years ago of that data. Hopefully many of you have that data in some format in Variphy on premise already today, as well as maybe some files that have already been processed by us. So we're figuring out the possible ways that we can do this, because we want to make that a possibility. We get that you're not going to flip the switch if you don't have any data in there. So we're certainly figuring out the right ways to do that, which aren't completely too cumbersome. So.
One last question for now. I'm not sure if we have the answer, but Nathan would like to know what level of FedRAMP our cloud product will operate at. So there's a moderate and high level of FedRAMP certification. I think that's more of a Google Cloud thing, but I'm not sure if we know that. We'll have to research that, Lane.
Great question. Yeah, we'll have to confirm that. Let me confirm that. And with our outgoing documentation around cloud, which we'll do out as soon as it's finalized, we'll certainly include that and spell that out. Yeah.
Excellent. That looks like all the questions for now. If there are any that we missed, we will be sure to get those answered at the end of the session. But Lane, I'll pass it back over to you to give to the dream team.
All righty. Everyone's favorite topic here, I guess, which is yet another prize. So dream team, take it away.
Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be round 3.
Thanks for that, Lane and Dan. We're super excited for the cloud solution, and I'm pretty sure you guys are too. But before we get started, I would like to sing you guys a song.
What?
1, 2, 3. Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world down the 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. Woo! Okay, for this round, we're going to be giving away a smartwatch, which is a lot smarter than an average human. This smartwatch can count your calories, how many steps you've made, and then also your heart rhythm. You can also read your messages and all that good sort. So, for the lucky winner, who is that going to be, Tom?
The winner is Katie Nolan.
Woo! Congrats, Katie Nolan. We'll be in touch with you after this party. Now I'm going to show you guys our customer success story from Jay Deshawn from Tampa General Health. Woo!
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Jay Deshawn, a telephony infrastructure engineer at a local nonprofit hospital here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Currently at our hospital, we're using 3 Cisco Call Manager clusters in addition to a test lab. We have a little over 7,500 endpoints, 30 remote sites throughout Tampa Bay, and we handle over 1 million calls a month. One of the reasons we got Variphy was for their change management solution. It's great knowing the who, what, where, when, and why something in my environment has changed. It's also great for troubleshooting as well, especially when the endpoint worked yesterday, but today it does not. It is super easy to have your CDR reports, change management reports, and any other report emailed to us each morning, or we can just run them on demand. I've used Cisco CUIC and RTMT along with VxTracker for my reporting, but now I just use Variphy. One thing is, it's easy and it includes more information than I would get from a single CDR report alone. Their cradle to grave function is amazing when you have to run a report to see what happened to a call from start to finish. In addition to the change management, we also use a remote phone control feature. This has allowed us to reduce our tickets SLAs because we're not having to send a technician to do a phone reset, and compared to other solutions like PhoneView, Variphy is much easier to configure and has a much higher success rate controlling the phones we need. Variphy has a great scheduling tool as well. It allows me to schedule change logs, call volumes, or any other reportable data out of my call manager and just have it emailed to me for review first thing in the morning. But if I have any questions, their support is always available to answer those how-to questions, and they're prompt as well. I would certainly recommend this product over other solutions. And it's actually saved us money since we're able to replace some of the software that we have now that was not quite as robust. PhoneView, VxTracker, just to name a few. Thank you, Variphy. You got a great piece of software out there.
All right, guys. For our next awesome prize, introducing the Oculus Quest 2, the next generation of all-in-one VR system. I heard it changed the game for wireless VR with its next level hardware. And our next lucky winner will be, boom, 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 James Callahan. Congratulations, James Callahan.
And ready or not, up next we have Matt, Mike, and Vic throwing us all into the product deep dive.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Matt Sykes, systems engineer here at Variphy. I'm joined by fellow SEs Mike Stratton and Victor Verba. What's happening, fellas?
Hey, Matty Ice.
All right. We'd like to thank all of you for attending our October house party. We do love hosting these live events. All right, now time for the fun stuff. Okay, so in this session, we're going to take a deep product dive into our UCCX or contact center reports in the new Variphy 12.2 version. We're going to cover some of the new enhancements specific to our UCCX analytic offerings and demonstrate some use or misuse cases that are easily identifiable through our reporting. Some of the new UCCX reporting enhancements that have been mentioned earlier include C6 time interval reporting or period over period, charting, and custom label usage. I sure love me some custom labels. All right, so let's get the show on the road and jump into a demo. I'm going to pass it off to CDR Jesus. Take it away, Victor.
Thank you, Matty. Hey, and thank you guys for attending. We really appreciate the turnout today. And everybody being able to join us. So if you're able to join our block party, last time, we spent a lot of time going over CDR analytics and looking at cradle to grave and how you can formulate calls, going inside and outside of UCCX. So we're going to turn the tables a little bit in this round. We're going to focus less on the CDR analytics and a little bit more on the UCCX analytics. So we're going to look at things like Q analytics, and we're going to take a deep dive into some of the new features, which are the period over period analytics, and how you guys can utilize those to help better manage your environment. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing I'm going to take a look at here is a CSQ performance widget. So this particular, dashboard. Port, let me get that right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm popping into a CSQ report, and I've just picked a couple of Qs over here that we're going to go ahead and pick on for the purpose of this demonstration. But what I wanted to go ahead and draw our attention to are some of the new features that we have here, and that's in the CSQ statistics tab. So the first thing you're going to go ahead and notice is I've got 3 separate CSQ statistics going on here. The first one I'm looking at is something that everybody's probably familiar with already, and that's just the general stats. So I'm just looking at things like the total call count, my handled percentages, my abandoned percentages, and just general stats that are important from a CSQ perspective. And like I said, these are things that you already have in your current system, but now we're going to go ahead and take a deeper look into some of the things that you may not have that just recently released with our 12.2 version. And that's the period over period stats. Now, the nice thing about this is I can really add as many different stats on this widget in different formats as I want. So the first thing I'm looking at here are my period over period, and I'm looking at hour of day stats, and I'm looking at this from a bar chart perspective. I could easily add day of week perspective in here as well. Personally, when I'm looking at statistics, especially from a CSQ, the call volumes range. You know, if I'm looking at a day, it's very easy to be able to see things like total counts. You know, it's easy to make sense out of something. You know, 100 calls came into a CSQ, or 500 calls came into a CSQ, and 100 of them were abandoned, or 700 or 400 of them were handled. You know, so when I'm looking at counts, you know, I like to look at things from a much smaller perspective, like hour of day. It's just easier to manage. But the nice thing about the new features within Variphy is I don't have to look at that information in a single dashboard or a single widget. So like I said, I could easily add day of a week here. But when I'm looking at full days, my counts are going to be much higher. And it's harder to make sense out of counts than it is things like percentages. So when I'm looking at 1,000 calls in a day, it's much easier to be able to see, hey, the percentage of handled calls or the percentage of abandoned calls. So the nice thing about Variphy and the new period over period analytics is you have the flexibility to be able to add those various types of counts into a single report. So what I'm looking at here are my hour a day stats. I'm going to remove day of week because I'm not necessarily looking at the counts for the day of week, but I still want day of week. So all I have to do is just add another CSQ stat, day a week, and I could keep this as a statistics table and just add my different percentages. Now, the other nice thing that I have here is the flexibility to be able to see this information on both a per queue basis, but as well as a total summary. So if I have people that maybe, you know, are a group of individuals that manage 4 different queues, I get to see in a single report how each queue is managed per day of the week, but also total cumulative how all those queues are managed. And of course, you can add detail to any of these reports, and I'm going to go ahead and get into that in a second. But let's run this report. Let's take a quick look at what we have here. So now the first thing we're going to see is the same CSQ stats that everybody's probably used to seeing. So I'm going to switch this. We're going to run this guy just for the previous week. You're going to see the same CSQ stats that you're used to seeing, and I kept those up at the top. I could always go into a report and rearrange how those are going to appear. If I want my graphical representations to appear in the top, I have the ability to go ahead and do that, and we'll see that in a second in another report. But now what we're looking at are our CSQ stats. So great information here, and it's going to help us kind of migrate our environment and navigate our agents and our resources to be able to move them around to better manage your queues. So right off the bat, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the 4 CSQs that I chose. I'm looking at a previous week's worth of data, and I could see, you know, for the most part, these 3 queues over here handle, you know, roughly around the same amount of calls, but my phone room is handling way more calls. But by just adding average talk time, I'm very able to see that, you know, those guys, the call volume is higher, but the average talk time for those calls is relatively minimal. So my phone room is probably doing a lot of diverting of calls, quick answers, and things like that. But also what I can see is I can see some problematic situations very clearly. So I could see my total count, and these 3 queues are relatively the same from a call count perspective. But if I look at my handled percentages, and again, this is why I like to be able to add percentages when I'm looking at larger time frames, is because now I get to see a much higher level view than rather 224 calls and, you know, 19 of them went abandoned. But what I can see here is my online help desk is struggling considerably compared to my other queues. Their handled percentages are a lot lower, and their abandonment percentages are a lot higher. So, you know, that's not good. I could also see the average queue time is considerably higher, as well as the abandoned average queue time is considerably higher. So this right off the bat lets me know that, you know what, right here I have a queue that's struggling. But we have some additional statistics in this report that we're going to take a look at. So here's that graphical representation I was talking about. So you'll notice I have each individual queue represented graphically. So I'm able to see per hour of day how my queues are handling calls, the total call count, handled per call count, and of course I can trim down my hours to be more business hour specific. But here, now I'm seeing all of my queues, I'm seeing all of the stats, and clearly we can see that our online help desk is struggling just graphically by the representation. Their number of handled calls is way down from their total calls, where here I could see that those calls are pretty steady. Now, if I scroll down a little bit more, the next thing you're going to go ahead and see down here is here's that total summary that I asked for. Now, if I didn't want to see each queue broken down specifically, I can just uncheck that box and I don't have to see that. Let's take a deeper look into these metrics. So now we can see right up at the top of my report, I have a queue that's struggling. So how does this report help me determine what I can do about that? So let me scroll past some of the graphical representations and we're going to get back into some of the statistics. So I also added day of the week stats in here. So we want to see, did this queue just have maybe a bad day? Or are they continuing to struggle for several days? Or is this a regularly occurring problem? So what I can take a look at is I've got my total call count for all of these queues. I can see, how many calls they handle on average. And really my online help desk, which I know is struggling, is handling probably a little bit lower volume than the rest of my queues or right about the same. But I can continue to take a look at their handled percentages each day of the week, and I can see consistently that my online help desk is struggling with abandonment when looking at my other queues. So this is a big number right here that we're looking at. We can see that, our CARS queue and our CSD queue are handling more calls. Their abandonment percentages are way better than my online help desk. So what that's telling me right off the bat is that I can actually probably move some of my resources around to say help out my online help desk. I could see that Thursdays right now, our last week, were pretty bad for my online help desk. Same thing with Wednesday over here. Again, pretty bad for my online help desk. But if I look at my CARS queue and my CSD queue, well, these guys are rocking it. So that very clearly lets me know that I can actually migrate some of the people from my CARS queue and my CSD queue on Thursdays and Wednesdays to be able to go ahead and help out my online help desk without significantly impacting my CARS or my CSD queue. So great way to be able to just kind of show that information and have all that information on hand. But right here, we're just looking at a single week, and now we've been able to pinpoint a problem. We've been able to pinpoint some people that on certain days of the week, we can migrate to be able to handle different queues. And a week is great information because now I'm looking at, some trending over a small period of time, but we want to expand on that. So in this report, now we're going to really use some of those period over period analytics that we have. I'm going to continue to focus on those same queues, but I'm going to expand on this. So rather than just looking at those day of week stats or hour stats, we're going to expand on this and look at some monthly stats. So what you see here is I kept my total statistics because I want to see overall out of the period that I run this report, which is going to be several months, is my online help desk queue still struggling? And right off the bat, these total statistics are going to tell me if they are still continuing to struggle and who's not struggling. But I also want to be able to see where are they struggling. So I added a graphical representation of just a high level. So you'll notice I only chose to include a cumulative summary of all my queues and a month and just some graphical representation to see overall how my queues are doing. But the next one down is where we're going to really focus some time because now I've got my month over month stats and my day of week stats. So for my month over month stats, like I said, one of the things I really prefer is looking at the percentages especially when I'm looking at a month, because 5,000 calls or 6,000 calls and 128 of them are abandoned. It's hard to do that math just by looking at it. So you don't have to. Verify's here to be able to do that math for you by being able to add counts, being able to add averages and percentages and things like that. So now what we're going to see are for my queues specifically, but overall cumulatively, how are my calls being handled on a month-to-month basis? And then last but not least, of course, we want to see day-to-day basis. Just like I showed in that last report, we want to be able to see on a day-to-day basis over the course of 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, is this queue struggling and what days can I effectively move somebody from one queue over to the other? So let's go ahead and give this guy a quick run here, and I'm going to show you what we have and then how we can read some of these results to be able to show, hey, I've got some things that I can go ahead and do, some moves that I can make between my end users to be able to go ahead and properly navigate some folks. So what I'm going to do here is just run this for the previous quarter, but I'm going to trim down my hours in this case because I don't need to see all hours. I'm really just looking for my business hours. And we'll go ahead and run this from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So let's give this guy a quick run. And what we're going to see here is a lot of information. But what we're going to walk through is how to interpret that information to make the best moves for your call center. So first thing we want to see is we ran our weekly report. We saw our online help desk was struggling. If we take a look at this report over the previous quarter, so this is an entire 3 months, we can see that our online help desk is still continuing to struggle. Now, our cars and CSD queues, they are not struggling as nearly as bad as our online help desk. So that right off the bat tells us that that 1 week report was not a fluke. It wasn't they had a bad week. It wasn't they had a bunch of people out. Over the period of 3 months, we can tell that they're continuing to struggle and they have high abandonment percentages and low handled counts. We could see some of their queue times are excessive compared to the other queues. So right there, I know I need to make some moves to my online help desk. So here's that graphical representation that I had talked about, and I want to see overall how all of my queues are doing. And I could see that, you know, I've got my total count, my handled count, my abandoned count, and that handled count is probably being affected and impacted by my online help desk. So let's scroll down a little bit more and let's take a look at the month-over-month statistics. Now, is it possible that maybe online help desk or some of your queues are going to have fluctuations in the month? Absolutely. People run different campaigns. They have different activities going on. So having these month-over-month stats is really going to allow you to see, hey, is this being affected just by one singular month, or is this a constant problem? And what we see right here is based off of our total counts. We could see that August was very heavy for our online help desk, but we could also see that their abandoned percentages were also pretty bad. But even the months that are not as heavy, their abandonment percentages are still pretty bad. So now we've isolated this down to a particular queue over a large period of time frame, and we could see their stats. We've isolated this down to certain months to make sure that this was not a certain month type of problem or an influx of calls over a certain month that impacted the bigger number. And we could see what months they're struggling, and consistently month over month, they have higher abandonment percentages than all of the other queues that I'm looking at here. But now what we're going to do is we're also going to be able to see that on a day-to-day basis. Now, the day-to-day basis is what's going to really allow you to effectively figure out where I can take resources from to move over to my online help desk. So let's look at that. So we can see each day of the week that we're looking at here, and I could see the total call counts, and I could see that my online help desk, with the exception of a few days here, has relatively consistent call volume as opposed to my other queues. But also what I'm able to see here is some of those abandonment percentages. So what I'm looking at here is my online help desk. I could see that on Sundays, they struggle. So I know that I can effectively probably move somebody from my cars or my CSD queues over to my online help desk to be able to help these guys out without having a great impact on either one of these. Now we can see that Mondays are not good for the other queues, so we're not touching any of these other queues. However, because I'm looking at this at a much broader range, I could see that maybe at my online help desk, which is doing great on Mondays, I can afford to take a couple resources and then now move them over to a Monday. Same thing over here. I'm looking at some of my other queues. Now we can see that the total call counts on these are extremely low on Tuesdays. These people just don't work on Tuesdays. But we can see that these two queues are relatively low on Tuesdays, but online help desk is high. So 100% abandoned. These queues are probably not there or not working on this particular day. So I may not have resources, or maybe I need to be able to develop some resources and change some of my shifts. So that way people that would normally handle my cars or my CSD are able to be in work and helping out that online help desk. But as we continue to look at all these, we're going to see that same pattern of highs and lows. You know, where Wednesday, again, our abandonment percentage is just awful, Wednesdays and Thursdays. But if I take a look at my other queues, abandonment percentages are relatively in control. So now I've basically got the criteria. I can go back and say, all right, I need to know on Wednesdays, I can move some people from my cars queue over to my online help desk. On Thursday, I can do the same thing. On Tuesday, I know that I need to staff better for online help desk. I may need to have a couple people come into the office on this day. But what we've done by building this very simple report is we've allowed you to effectively look at an environment on multiple different levels, a day-to-day level, an hour-to-hour level, month-to-month level, and also if we wanted to, we can have each individual date on this report to be able to break those down effectively. So there's a lot of things that we can do within this report to help you guys manage and make educated decisions and data-driven decisions to figure out how to best help your struggling queues. So I appreciate that. So one of the things we're going to go ahead and take a look at next is a little bit of our agent productivity. So the queue performance is great, but agents affect the queues. So what those agents are doing also affects how those particular queues are performing. So for that, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to move away from the CSQ information. We're going to start taking a look at some individual agents, maybe identify some misuse of not ready codes. But one of the other things we're going to go ahead and take a look at is some of the detail columns that we have in agent reports. So I've got this general agent report, and I've kind of thrown the kitchen sink at this guy. I'm not filtering down to specific agents or resource groups or teams or anything like that. I just really want to see all of my agents and how they're doing. So for this guy, I can absolutely add period over period analytics, but what I'm really looking for in this report is just a high level. I just want to be able to see some of my agents. I want to see the total call counts, and then we're going to take this high level data and start looking at some individual agents' usage. So for this guy, I just included some really basic information like inbound counts. I included the inbound ICD and non-ICD counts. I think these are two very important metrics. And if anybody's ever heard me talk about that, or I've worked with you guys to build some reports, one of the things I always talk about are the differences between these two counts because it is important. So an ICD count, or a call that comes in via ICD, is going to be a count that comes through the queue. In other words, this is a person that sat in the queue, waited their turn, and then got answered by an agent. And non-ICD count is a call that, for lack of a better word, circumvented the queue. Maybe they called a sales representative or another representative, and they got transferred to an agent directly. We see this a lot in technical environments where, think of it like this: you kind of have your top representative, and a lot of people sales representatives or operators, they say, you know what, I've got the person that can answer your question. Let me go ahead and transfer you directly to them. Well, that's great for that one customer. The problem is it's not helping out your queues. So if that's happening a lot with a particular agent, well, then that agent is constantly taking calls directly, and those callers that sat in queue or are sitting in queue aren't getting answered timely. So it's important to be able to see those numbers. And a lot of environments, they don't even have that. It's not even an option. But by adding this, you're going to be able to see some of those metrics that you may not have even known that what was going on. So I've added that in here, and then, as well as some things like not ready counts, not ready percentages, because again, this is a high level. I want to see what my agents are doing, and I'm going to use this information to dig a little bit deeper into some of those agents. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about state details in a second, but what I've also done is I've added a lot of fields in the detail columns. So one of the biggest things we see from our customers is a lot of customers going, look, you know what, somebody else used to manage this. We had CUIC. I never really had to get in there, or when I did get in there, I couldn't figure out what report was what, or what some of these columns mean, or anything like that. So what I did is I added some of the more popular columns, and I'm going to run a pretty large report here. And these columns are a lot of what we see on a regular basis with customers going, well, what does this mean, or what does that mean? How do I know what this is? So I'm going to go ahead and move this. Like I said, this is a pretty lengthy report. We're going to let that guy kick off in the background. But this is that same report. So up at the top here, I've got a lot of information. We're going to go ahead and circle back to that. But what I wanted to scroll down to was this detail. And there's a lot of things in here, a lot of blank things. So right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass the ball over to our buddy Mike. And Mike's going to give us a little bit of an explanation of what some of these columns mean, which ones are important, and just help us make sense of what some of this detail is. Mike, take it away, buddy.
All right. Let me take over control here, make this a little bit bigger on my side. All right. So we're looking at the call details here. I'll kind of go from the left to the right. WebEx thing out of the way. So first column is pretty easy. It's the CSQ name. It's the name of the queue that the call came in through. That one, I mean, if you're looking for calls coming inbound to a queue, this is a great column to have. The next two columns are kind of ones that we get some questions on. The contact start time, or date and time. Start date and time. These are two different timestamps. The contact start date and time here on the left-hand side is the time when the call was created or generated. Basically, it's when the call starts to exist from the point of view of the contact center. The connection date, start date and time is going to be populated when the call is presented to an agent. So the contact start time is going to happen first, then the connection start time happens second. Moving down, contact type, kind of related to the contact start date and time. This doesn't, so in this case, because these calls are coming into a queue, these calls are labeled as incoming. You can also see, call types such as outgoing or internal. And then moving down, queue time. Well, we got a bunch of times here. You have queue time, connect time, hold time, work time, talk time, and ring time. So out of all these timestamps, queue, hold, work, talk, and ring will only be populated when the call comes through a queue. So on these calls here that have been queued, that are coming into the contact center, these timestamps are populated. But if you're looking at like internal or outgoing calls, these timestamp or these time values, I should say, will be blank. But connect time, this is the total time of the call. So from start to finish, so from the contact start date and time to the contact start, to the contact end date and time, the contact time is always populated. So whether the call is incoming, outgoing, or internal, if you want to see the total time of the call, include connect time in your report. And then moving down, the destination agent name, the DN, and the destination type are all related. What's populated in the agent name and the destination DN field kind of or depends upon your device. So you have three devices. You have a device, you have agent, or unknown. If the call is routed straight to an agent, then the destination type will be agent. If the call is routed to like to a CTR route point, then your destination type will be device. If it comes to, or like if it's routed to like a gateway or outside of the contact center, then your destination type will likely be unknown. So in this case, the calls are coming to a CTA route point first before hitting the queue. So your destination device is, or your destination type, I should say, is always going to be device, and the DN is going to represent the CTA route point that the call was presented to. And since this device, or I'm sorry, since this type is not agent, your agent name is going to be blank. So if you're looking for a column to identify which agent received the call from the queue, your destination agent name is not going to be the column select. Really, this column is more so populated like with a call if a call is transferred directly to an agent. All right, so moving down, you've got the originator agent name, the originator type, and also down here you have the originator DN. These three are kind of, or have the same kind of idea behind them as the destination agent, DN, and destination type. Everything kind of hinges on this type here, the originator type. So again, it's either unknown, device, or agent. Because these CSQ calls are coming through or coming from the contact center, your originator type is unknown. Which also means that your originator DN is the caller ID of the person calling into the contact center, or is that the customer's name or the the patient's name. And then in this case, your originator agent name is also going to be blank because your type is unknown. The originator agent name is populated if the call type is outgoing or internal, because that would be the agent that placed the call. And then I'll come back to connected agent name in a second. So you have down here queued agent name. There's also another column that you don't have selected called queue type. Queue type can either be CSQ or agent. So you can either have the call queued to a CSQ or have the call queued directly to an agent. In most cases, the calls are being sent directly to a queue. So the queue name, or the queued agent name is going to be blank. If you were queuing the calls directly to an agent, you would get the agent's name in this column. So that leaves us with one other agent column. So if you're looking for the agent name to associate to the calls that come through a queue, you want to select the connected agent name. This is the agent that receives the call. So in this case, Kenny received the online help desk. Kimberly received the second call here, and so on and so on. So if you're looking here, so definitely you can drop the the other three agent columns and just stick with the connected agent name. And then here we have the caller entered digits. I see this selected a lot, and it usually comes up blank. A lot of people select it thinking that this is the like the number that the person dialed to get into the phone system. This is not true. If you're prompting your callers to enter their phone number, this is the field where it'll appear in the reports. And called number, again, it's not the number dialed by the person. It is associated usually to the destination DN. In this case, this is the DN assigned to this route points, and again, it kind of depends upon the destination device, so you can kind of drop these two columns from your report unless they're really important for your call flow. Already covered original DN. That leaves us with queue disposition and contact disposition. If you're building a report based upon inbound calls to a queue, these are, especially at the agent level, these are going to be the same. Queue disposition gives you the disposition at the queue level, so the call has to be queued for the queue disposition to be populated, and then contact disposition, that's more so at a high level at the CCX level. So, but when you're building an agent reports, especially dealing with CSQ calls, you can pick either one of these because so it's only going to be handled or abandoned. And then flow out will tell you if the call was sent out of the contact center. In this case, all these calls here were not. They probably terminated within the contact center. And then final, call rep up data. This is if your agents are using the rep up codes. You'll see the data here in this column. So I think that kind of covers what you have selected here, Vic. But I do want to point out, I mean, this is a lot of data to kind of go over just for what time we have. So Matt and I will be presenting a deep dive into these CCX values on November 18th as part of our weekly Wednesday webinar. So if you want to kind of join us and talk about CCX, you can come hang out with us again Wednesday, November 18th.
Hey, awesome job, Mike. Thank you very much. I hope that helps clarify some of the questions that we see, because that's usually one of the biggest things we see is, a lot of people coming from the CUIC platform and just not understanding what some of these fields are. And, let's face it, a lot of them aren't in English. They're in Cisco lingo, and they're not straightforward. So, having that a little explanation helps us build those reports and understand the detail a little bit more. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other things that we wanted to address today. So one of the big things that we wanted to talk about, and one of the reasons I generated this report, besides having all the detail in there, is I wanted to take a look at agent productivity. So one of the things we're looking at, I know for this is a very outbound call center. So I don't have a whole ton of inbound counts being handled by all of my agents. So, I'm looking at my inbound ICD counts, which we talked a little bit about. I'm looking at my non-ICD counts, and I don't have a huge problem here. I've got some agents that take some calls directly on their agent extension without going through the queue, but that's why it's important to have these fields in here, because it may not even be pertinent to your organization, and that's fine. You just go ahead and exclude them, but now you have the information to be able to see, is this an actual problem? But the reason I ran this report is because I wanted to look at those agent productivity metrics. So I'm looking at my inbound counts, but one of the things I'm going to focus in here is this not ready count. And whoa, we've got some serious agent problems. So I've got a lot of people going not ready and ready. And in some environments, especially outbound facilities, high not ready counts, it's going to be expected. Every time somebody hits the dial tone on their phone on an outbound call, it puts that agent into a not ready state. But I have some counts here that are pretty excessive. So we're going to go ahead and run a report based on a little bit more of just, hey, I need to troubleshoot why I have some of these not ready counts so high on some of these agents. So for that, I went ahead and I created this agent monitoring report. So in this report, I kept it pretty simple. Again, I'm just looking at all my agents. I don't know if I have a problem yet. I just want to kind of see everybody and see what we're looking at here. So for this one, I focused in on the inbound counts, but what I did is I added all of the not ready counts here. So I'm specifically looking to pinpoint people potentially using the wrong code, or just abusing the system. Going ring not ready, going not ready for don't want to work, things like that. Maybe taking lunches that are a little bit excessive, or maybe taking 4 or 5 lunches in a day, something like that. So we're just going to go ahead and run this guy for some general stats. Now, I did include the detail columns Mike was talking about because he hit on all the key points. But for this particular report, I'm not necessarily looking at the detail. We are going to circle back to that in a second. So I'm going to turn that guy off, and we're going to give this report a quick run. And we're going to show you how to go ahead and pick out some agents and some potential agent problems. So with that, I'm going to keep this in the HTML format, and I'm just going to run this for the previous week, keep my normal business hours. And this is going to go ahead and produce a nice report that's going to detail all my agents. I've sorted this guy, or I've filtered it down to being able to show those guys with the highest not ready count, because those are the ones I really want to focus in on. Why are these so high? Now, right off the bat, let's take a look at our first person here is Rick Ashley. So first thing I can see, he's got 556 not ready reasons. Now, I included all those counts because that's going to give me a good idea of why he's going not ready. And right off the bat, I know I have a problem. Rick over here is going for the span of last week, went not ready 251 times for his phone going down. That's a problem. I've identified it very easily right here. I need to get this over to my IT group, maybe run some additional CDR reports, figure out what's going on with Rick, because right now he's not helping the queue because 251 times his phone went automatic not ready. But let's go ahead and kind of scroll through some of these metrics here. One of the ones that I'm going to focus in on, and this is a pretty big one here, is this ring no answer. Not ready count for ring no answer. So thing about this one and why I'm focusing on this one is because it's a pretty good metric. So when a call comes into a contact center, somebody sits in queue and rings out to an agent, by default, it rings to that agent for 12 seconds. If after 12 seconds that agent does not answer, it either punts that caller back to the queue or it sends it over to another available agent immediately. Now, the problem with this is, one, you've got an agent that didn't answer a call. Two, as soon as they don't answer that call, it automatically puts that agent into a not ready state. And that's a big problem because now, one, I don't have an agent that's completely skipped a call and they're not ready. Now, do they know they're not ready? Are they doing this intentionally? We're going to take a look into those results. But right here, I can see, looking at my not ready results, that Charlie Murphy over here is just going not ready a lot. 33 times he went not ready and got put into a not ready state for ring no answer. If I continue to scroll through here, I could see that Kenny McCormick went 16 times. He didn't answer calls. And poor Bruce Wayne over here. Bruce never answers his phone. 15 times Bruce Wayne went not ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on these three agents and see if we can figure out what's going on. So to make this easy, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to make a copy of this report right here, and it's going to bring over everything we need, but I'm going to add some very specific agents here. So I know that I have a problem with a couple of agents, so let's pinpoint those guys. So I'm just going to add an agent search, and we're going to type in our agents. So I know Charlie over here was one person we had a problem. Bruce was another one that was not answering his call, and then I think Kenny was the other one. So we're going to focus in on these three agents individually so we can see what's going on. And I'm just going to rename this report. We'll call it Agent, if I could spell, Agent Inquiry Report. And then from there, I'm actually going to change my stats. Now, I know I'm looking at ring no answer, so I don't need all of these. So we're going to focus in on just some specifics. So I'm going to type in just RNA, and it's going to bring up all the not ready things, or all the reasons they went not ready for ring no answer. So I want to see the count of how many times this happened. But another very important metric here is the average. So in other words, when a call comes into these people, rings for 12 seconds, they don't answer it, how long do they stay not ready afterwards? This could be a very simple problem of somebody taking lunches or breaks and just forgetting to go not ready. But that's important because that messes with your metrics. So we want to be able to see that. And another important thing I want to see here is I want to be able to see the amount of abandoned calls that are happening as a result of this. In other words, let's say I'm a person, I sat in the queue for 5 minutes, I rang out at an agent, and then I ended up back in the queue. Well, that's disheartening. I may not hang out in that queue very long because now I don't even know what place I'm in. Did I start all the way back from the beginning? Am I number one on the list? I may just hang up and call back. So it's important to be able to see those abandoned counts as well. But now what we're also going to do is I'm going to go ahead and include those details because I want to see the details of each one of these calls, but I also want to filter this down a little bit to be able to bring in just those those RNA type calls. So for that, I'm going to actually use some of the detail filtering. And the nice option about Variphy is you can see we've got a lot of different things that we're able to filter on, any of your custom variables as well as your wrap-up data. So those are all different filterable values. But in this case, I know my UCCX is set to 12 seconds RNA. So I'm going to go ahead and filter out any call that rang for 12 seconds and then either went abandoned or didn't go abandoned or rolled down to a different agent. So I'm just going to title this RNA. And then last but not least, and we're not going to skip it, are the state details. So this is important because when I'm going back to an agent, I want to be able to provide them something to say, hey, we can see this as a problem. We can see on X day that, you know, this took place and it happened again and it happened again, or it's repeatedly happening. We need to be able to make sure we're using the right codes. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and include the event date and time, the event duration, and also the reason. So one of the nice things about having a system like Variphy is that we're not just going to show you a code. If you want to see the event code, of course, we can include it. But, you know, event code 1234, it doesn't help you. But event ring no answer, that is definitely an important thing. So now that I have some general information in there, I also want to use some filters here. I don't need to see every single time that this person changed states. So I'm going to filter this down to being able to just show the ring no answer states. So what I'm creating here is a nice, very clean report that's going to show me all the RNA states, how long they went into those states, the detail of all those calls, as well as how often this is happening and if they're going ring no answer and staying in that particular state. So let's give this guy a quick run for the previous week here. And there we go, previous week. We're still keeping our business hours in there. So now what this is going to bring up is a great report that's going to pinpoint these three particular users and give us some very valuable information on how they're performing. So let me blow this up a little bit here. So what I can see are the three agents that I brought in. Their inbound counts. Remember, we're filtering their counts based off of just that 12-second ring time. But what I get to see here is, one, how often that happened. And this is quite a bit for a previous week for somebody to be either not at their phone or letting calls ring out. But what's also really important here is this metric. So this is not the case where occasionally this happens and they just go ready again and they answer the call. When this occurs, these people stay in that not ready state for 12 minutes, 14 minutes, 12 minutes basically. And the result of them going ring not or not answering these particular calls is 17 people abandoned those calls. That's important. Because now I have people, like I said in my earlier example, that sat in queue, rang to an agent for 12 seconds, then got punted back into the queue, or didn't get punted to another agent that answered that call. So now I can see that I have 17 calls that actually abandoned. So if we take a little bit look further down, we can see the states. So now I get to see how each one of those handled that. Each one of those calls was handled. So here I can see they're not ready. Here's just the ring no answers, but also how long they're staying in that particular state. So in other words, call came in, rang out for 12 seconds, automatically punted this Bruce Wayne over here into not ready, and he stayed in that state for 2 minutes and 23 seconds, 3 minutes and 8 seconds. This tells me this person wasn't just on break, because if they were maybe just forgot to go ready, you're going to see something more like 10 minutes, a normal break, maybe 20 minutes if they take long breaks. But when you see this happening for just a few minutes here or there, that kind of gives me the indication that they're probably at their phone and the call rang in and they just didn't answer it, or for some other reason they were unable to answer it. And that's important because there's a lot of reasons that a call may not get picked up or it may ring no answer. But what these folks need to be doing is then using the proper metrics or using the proper not ready for after call, not ready for email, and putting them in the proper state. Because right here what we're seeing is these calls are being abandoned because they are either misusing states or they're abusing the system. All right, so now we can see the states of each one of those agents and how long they were in those states, the average amount of time, how many calls are being abandoned because they're doing this. But also if I scroll down, we get to see the detail of all those calls. And the reason I included this, and again, Mike, thank you, because these are the perfect columns that you need to be able to see how your calls are handled. I get to see how long they were connected. I need to see when they came in. The agents that they rang out to, how long they rang. I can clearly see they have no hold time, talk time, work time, but I also get to see their queue states. So I could see that these folks sat in there for 2 minutes, and then the call rang, and then eventually it got handled by somebody, which is great because that's what you want. But here you have a case where somebody sat there for 5 minutes. It rang for 12 seconds. This person didn't answer it. So Charlie Murphy over here did not answer the call. This person either went back to the queue or just said, forget it, and hung up the call. And that's important because then you get to see those types of metrics from a detail perspective as well. So, I want to thank everybody. I hope we were able to shed a little light on both queue performance and how to monitor queue performance, as well as being able to move people around to be able to better help your queues, but as well as being able to show some of those agents and maybe agents using the wrong codes or not able to properly use the right states and how you can address those issues. So, Mike, Matt, how are we doing here? Anything that I'm missing?
Oh, you left out a bunch of stuff.
Oh, man. All right, what am I missing, Maddie?
How about custom labels? Come on.
Take it away, buddy. Take it away. Show us some custom labels, man.
I'll take it from here. All
All right.
While you gents were off showboating with UCCX reports, I created a custom label set for that agent monitoring report that you just built. Actually, 2 of them.
Look at you, busy bee.
Like that? Okay. So, all right, with custom label sets in Variphy 12.2, we can relabel those detail columns that you guys were actually just covering. So those CCX kind of indescribable kind of Cisco column terminology that we see. So let's go take a peek at those. So certainly we have the capability to relabel those. All right, what's going on? Here we are. So underneath the configuration section, we see the custom label sets. I have actually already built a house party label set while you guys are working on that. Okay, and as we can see here, yeah, I can certainly relabel the detail columns that you and Mike had just hashed over, but also you can see in the CCX reports, I have the capability to relabel the search site types, as well as the agent and CSQ statistic types. But we'll just entertain some of the details right here. But like Victor said, one of the biggest questions or gripes of the CCX reports that we hear about may just be, uncertain terminology being used. We do have data dictionaries of this information on the Variphy website. We do out of the box use the Cisco system default terminology, but now we do have the capability to replace those data types and tailor the labels to your specific preference. So as we can see here in this custom label set that I have here, as Mike had mentioned, caller enter digits here earlier. Obviously we can relabel that. Definitely one I go to all the time for is going to be originator DN. Now that's mainly going to be your calling line ID, and it's buried in here somewhere.
You got it right there. 5th one from the bottom, buddy.
There we are. Thank you. Okay, so we can see that. Here we are, and I'm relabeling that with caller ID. So we can do that. We can most certainly also relabel the search set criteria pieces as well. I have not done that for this example, but just because obviously I didn't have a lot of time, you guys were going through your spiel. So let me go ahead and actually bounce back to that agent monitor report you were just running, and let's take a quick peek at it. So I'm going to go ahead and run this guy real briefly, and we'll see from the prompt pop-out box here. Right here, we can see the custom label set. So it's using the system default as the preference, but I want to use my new label set. So I'm going to specify that as well as show an appendix on the back end of the report. So let's not run this for that lengthy of a time. Maybe I'll just do previous data to solidify this. Let's go ahead and run this.
It was a lot of data.
It was, exactly, especially with all that state data information as well.
Yes.
State details can be lengthy. Okay, let's zoom in on this real briefly. All right, so we'll get past your high-level not ready stuff, and we'll just jump right down to the detail section. If we, here we go. And you'll have to excuse me. I think I ran the wrong port. I think it's the agent inquiry I need to run.
Go ahead and run that. You could run that. You can run that guy for the previous week, Matt. That returns
this one
quick. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's make sure I'm using my custom label set, house party label set. Perfecto. Showing the appendix. Let's go ahead and run this.
You might still be on previous day.
That's
some of it. You got a little detail in there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's really all I need. So as everyone can see here, the detail columns, these have now been swapped out for my own now personal label set. So I didn't want to see contact type, as Mike alluded to, I wanted to see call type for this column. And you can see from left to right, the columns that I have swapped out per that custom label set that I can, we can walk through again if need be. But I want to show something else as well. Now, if a user were to say, for instance, oh, I do apologize. I do want to show that the hover over. So if I can easily hover over these column headers actually in a PDF, I do believe. Hold on one second. Let's actually jump to the login usage. So I want to show this real briefly. So we can actually set custom label sets at the login per level as well. So for instance, I could certainly select, house party label set for this login. Victor's login is now using my label set. But if I go into one of these reports and we go to the detail section, it's actually going to inherit, if you will, this label set. So we'll jump down into call details. And now we can see here, these are not my custom label sets.
They are, yeah.
Actually, no, I do apologize. No, you're right. So here I can hover over these and we can actually see what the system default label was. So now that's all very good and well. So we can certainly run this and use this label. I'll also share this label out with other users because the label, the search set, the label sets are at a user permission level as well. So I also built a secondary label set as well. So I do want to mention that. So now, since Variphy, is based in English, we can actually use the custom label sets to actually change the language if we wanted to. So that's exactly what I did. Using Edgar Translator, I was able to go ahead and create a secondary label set here, and we'll just drill into that momentarily. And please don't ask me to verbally navigate us on these labels. But as we can see here, using the same exact label set that I did with the previous one, I'm using the same UCCX column types, but I've given their translations in Spanish. Now, I'm not going to try and butcher any of these on the call, but certainly we can very easily use these on the report as well. So I can segue back to one of Victor's reports. We'll go to that, I think it was the agent inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
We can hit the play button on this guy, and we'll jump away from my new label set, and we'll use label set 2, which I know is coded in Spanish. We'll go ahead and run this. It should be for a previous day as well. Don't need a large data set here, just to show you the ease of use of translating to a secondary language. So here we are. So here are the Spanish headers of these detail columns. And as well, these custom label sets are most certainly applicable for our dashboard and widgets as well. And I believe I have one shared out with you here, Victor. Let's see, do you have boards shared with you? Oh, we do. Okay, here we are. Aha, okay, see, and this one, I'm already using the label set for this widget here. I guess I did not clean that up from yesterday, but most certainly if I wanted to, I could change the appearance of that label as well. Maybe I don't want to see the Spanish label set. Maybe I want to translate it back to, not the system default, but maybe to my more English updated definition of a label set. So certainly we can utilize those in myriad of different options. So I mean, thank you. Listen, I can spend another 10 minutes just covering labels, but I think everyone here sees the added benefit with this new enhancement. So I want to thank you all for your time, and I'm going to kick it back to you, Victor. Take us home, buddy.
Gracias, por favor. Excellent job, Matt. Excellent job. So, hey, with that, everybody, I really want to thank everybody for their time coming out and hanging out with us for House Party. I hope we were able to shed a little bit of light on, how you can best use some of those period over period analytics. It was something that, we really wanted. It was something that we heard a lot from our customers on. And, we are always driven by feedback from our customers. So we're super excited to be able to get those in there. So, hey, thanks everybody for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Matt, Mike, awesome job. And we're going to kick it over back to the Dream Team to give away some more stuff.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Vic. That was really awesome. So before we wrap this up, before the grand finale, we're going to give away one more prize. But before we do that, we're going to drop off some hot heat for you guys. Are you ready, team?
Ready. Let's do it.
On a count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Variphy. We just want to clarify that we are the best in the CDR game, and that ain't no lie.
All right, Dan, are you ready to announce the next winner?
Let's go.
But before we do that, you did say that it is happy hour somewhere, right? Because it is 3 p.m. Eastern time?
Well, almost 3 p.m. Well, actually, it is 3 p.m.
Did you say you wanted to down some beer?
Let's go. Let's do it.
I think we might shotgun some beer right now. Who's gonna win? Annie or Tom?
Press 1 for Tom.
Press 2 for Annie. Let's go.
Let's go.
Cheers. 1, 2, 3.
Tom, baby.
I can't do it. All right, so in this round, we're gonna give away a Theragun. So since we've all been working from home, our body has been very sore. And Tom and I don't have a Theragun, but we do have something that's similar to a Theragun. We have a screwdriver.
Oh.
So I'm gonna test the screwdriver on you, okay, Tom?
Right here. It's getting a little bit sore.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it works really well. All right, so the next winner for this round is Alex Aguilar. You are our winner. Congratulations.
Let's go.
And cheers, everyone. Happy Tuesday. So, all right, we're going to be presenting 2 customer success stories, one with Edgar and GT from Carnatronics, and last, Nicholas from Sacred Heart. And then hang around. We're going to do some Q&A and then the grand finale, the grand prize that you've all been waiting for. Press 1 if you want to hear Tom sing.
Press 2 if you will see Annie dance.
See ya!
I'm here with JT Wade from Cardtronics. JT, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and talk a little bit about our product and your experiences with Variphy. I wanted to start out by asking, what is your role at Cardtronics?
I'm the senior voice architect for Cardtronics.
Tell me a little bit about your deployments.
We have 3 clusters globally. We're upgrading to 12.5 right now. We did have HCS with an external company, and we migrated back to in-house. And your product was very valuable in that aspect as well.
What initially prompted a need for a solution like Variphy?
Initially, when we were on HCS, we had no access to Call Manager at all, and it let us use the change management tool to get visibility in Call Manager, see what's going on for troubleshooting issues, because they were notoriously slow for fixing things. And then more recently, we had a need for it for the phone control portion. So we'll use the CDR portion for reporting for some of the groups that don't have the call center functionality.
How did you hear about Variphy?
Well, I used to be a consultant years ago, and I had experience with it, and I loved the product and how well it worked. So I just got our management to buy it for us.
Tell me a little bit about the deployment process.
Yes, we used the OVA install. It was very easy. Installed it and got it up and running very quickly.
What do you think of the upgrade process?
If you've ever used Linux in the past, it's very easy. You just move it over, and then you run one shell command, and then it upgrades automatically.
How would you rate the Variphy solution?
I would rate it a 10. It's very easy to use, very powerful, and does everything it needed to.
On that same scale, how would you rate the support that you received from Variphy?
Not sure. I've never had to use it. It's never broken on me.
Fantastic. That's probably a good thing. What did you think of the Variphy license and price model? Did you think that was fair?
I think it's fair.
Would you recommend Variphy to your peers within the Cisco community? If so, what would you tell them?
Yes, I definitely recommend it. I've used it for many, many years. It's very easy to use and works great. Use other products that actually don't work as well, especially on the phone control side. When we first installed it for our third-party HCS, when we had Call Manager controlled by a third party, it cut our number of tickets in half because I was able to go in and troubleshoot a lot of the issues that we could have fixed that we just didn't have any visibility in to know what was wrong. And then also it helped us make them fix it faster because I told them what was wrong and they were able to fix it faster. So we went from about 60 to 70 active tickets to about 30.
Have you delegated access to other team members or anyone in the line of business?
Delegated some other people for the CDR dashboards for the analytics portion. Mm-hmm. And then I have another user that logs in and they can check reports and things like that. And then I have another user that logs in for phone control so they can remotely troubleshoot phones.
Well, thanks again for your time. I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Have a good one, Edgar.
Hi, this is Nicholas Romanos of Sacred Heart University. Telecommunications engineer, one of the two here at the university. I apologize for this informal setting. However, due to COVID-19, I am forced to create said review video over Variphy in my home rather than at the office, a little more formal setting that I'm used to. I think the best place to start would be the ease and the customer service of Variphy. Fandy Lee, Tom, as well as Victor were 3 of the most easy to work with, super supportive individuals that we worked with, transitioning from former CDR, who shall not be named, to Variphy. Everything really meshed well with our Cisco systems, CUCM, and the ease of it being pulled from AD and only really being a looking glass into CUCM itself made everything super simple. It wasn't a new software that I had to learn. It wasn't a new software that my colleague had to learn. It was truly going from a CUCM copy to an even perfect CDR. And I can't say it enough how thankful I am to have those 3, specifically, as well as Variphy as a whole. So granted, this should have been a Variphy video, but if you get the chance to work with Variphy or Fandy or Tom or Victor, just know that you have a great opportunity with this customer service that the 3 of these people have. Again, I can't say enough. I know I've already said that, but they're super flexible. We're really able to create everything. We were really able to create everything that we needed through Variphy. And as long as I believe, if I can confidently say, granted, I don't have the authority to make these long-term decisions or long-term thoughts, but I can say as long as I'll be at the university and as long as we have a CUCM Cisco University, we too will have a Variphy University. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you to Nicholas, TJ, and Dushan for your awesome success stories. It really does mean everything to us here at Variphy to know that our solution's a great match for you and you're getting a lot of use out of it. So now the time that we've all been waiting for, I know for me anyway, is to crack a beer. Let's get house party started. Cheers, everyone. This will be an open forum time to answer some last minute questions. I've got only a few here that were not answered. So first question, let me first take a drink first. That's good. All right. First question that we have is from Stephanie. This is going back regarding the CCX data that the SE team was wondering if the CCX reports have a cradle to grave view like our CDR reports do. So Vic, Matt, Mike, maybe could you elaborate a little bit on the linkage or the lack thereof between CCX data and CDR data? All right, looks like we might have some audio issues, so I'll answer that here. So CCX reporting, the data set within CCX is actually not reliant to the data set within CDR. So unfortunately, no. We will have two distinct data sets. There is no unique primary keys between CCX data and CDR data, so we wouldn't be able to provide you the complete picture, cradle to grave part is that. As far as CCX data alone, that too, there are some linking capabilities, so we could get a good idea of if agents are transferring to other agents. There is some linkage or some IDs used within that data, but not cross-platform, unfortunately. So Stephanie, hopefully that answers your question. All right, second question we got coming in is from Scott. Scott states, as an administrator, I have to build our reports out manually and share them out with all of our users one by one. Do you have anything in the pipeline to make this process a little bit easier?
Oh, yep, sure, I can field that one.
Awesome, thanks, Matt.
Certainly, and great question, Scott, by the way. And actually in the Variphy 12.2 release, we actually have underneath the user accounts and groups, we actually have a can access all shared reports toggle that can be solidified on the user level for read, edit, or full rights permissions to the quote unquote shared reports. So that is certainly a user option now in 12.2. So you don't have to go buy them one by one.
Excellent, thank you, Matt. Four Lane, our friend Gerald here wants to state that, hey, you don't have enough bourbon going on there, so I think you might want to fix that, Lena.
After pure reliable, then looks can be deceiving.
All right, got another question. Is there a way to follow abandoned calls? Can you see if they called back in? So Dave, excellent question. On the CDR front, we can certainly determine abandoned calls. It would really just take another search to see if by caller ID, if those numbers had called in again. So yeah, we could certainly do that by CDR standards. All right. Doesn't look like there's any other questions. If anyone has any other questions at this point, go ahead and submit those into the chat on the right side and we'll get those answered for you here before the big grand prize giveaway. We'll wait a couple more seconds here. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll hand it over to Dre and Jenna to wrap it all up for us and announce us the much anticipated grand prize winner. Jenna and Dre, I'll hand it back to you.
since everybody wanted Annie to dance, we're going to make that happen. DJ, spin the wheel.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
Annie. Thank you. How's everybody doing?
Seems like they're having a good time in chat there.
How are you doing, Gray?
I'm doing fantastic. A little jealous about the prizes we're about to give away here.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, CDR Kins Aliens, the moment you've been waiting for, the grand prize. Last lucky winner will receive a prize of their choice. The amount for each of these are worth. Is it one, Andy?
Not one.
Is it two, Andy?
Not two.
But $3,000. You heard that right. That's $3,000. I'm going to hand it over to Dre to let you know what our first prize option is.
All right. Our first grand prize option is a camping set. There's a lot of stuff in here, so bear with me. You're going to get a Yeti cooler. You're going to get a tent, air mattress, Coleman grill, lantern, jump starter, solar charger, some baked beans, s'mores, all those fun camping food items there, sleeping bags, an Osprey backpack, a nice kind of fall jacket, some camping team chairs, camping games, and a hammock, all to get you set up for a nice little camping trip there. What's next, Jenna?
I love that. If you are a gamer yourself, this prize package was made for you. This game set comes with 65-inch QLED TV, headset, and a chair, but that's not all. You'll also get the pre-order of Xbox Series 5, PlayStation 5, and a controller for both. Handing the mic back to Dre for your third option.
Always gotta love a gaming set. All right, next one, we have a DIY tool set. Always can use those. I'm always working on some sort of project at home. So we've got an air compressor with nail guns, a DeWalt cordless drill combo, miter saw with table, a laser level, mechanics toolkit, safety glasses, first aid kit. You're going to get a Home Depot gift card for $200, a sander, a tool chest, tool box, and table saw. All right, Jenna, what's our last grand prize to give away?
All right, if you haven't traveled in a while, which I know most of you haven't, this vacation package will take you places. You'll be taking off with Bose noise cancellation headphones, 3 different sizes and luggages for a quick weekend or a long trip. And best of all, a $1,500 travel airfare is yours to use. Now, before we announce the lucky winner, I want you to take a moment and really think about what you want. Dre, if you were the winner, what would you choose?
Well, being a hardcore gamer myself, I'm going to have to go with the gaming set for sure.
Nice. I think I would definitely choose the vacation package, right? Fly with Variphy.
I might need that first aid kit if I'm doing all these projects at home, though.
All right, everyone. Whether if you are sitting at your office or the office, I need you to give me 10 seconds of desk drum roll. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. The lucky winner for our grand prize is Matt Vilner!
Congratulations, Matt.
Congratulations, Matt.
Congrats. All right. Awesome. Congratulations, Matt. And I just want to say thank you for everybody for attending our house party this time. We are going to be doing this every quarter. So please, guys, come back. And thank you to our great list of our demos that we had today. They just do a great job. Don't forget, we have also webinars you can register for every Wednesday. Anything from CCX, CDR, all sorts of stuff. So make sure you sign up there at our website, variphy.com/webinars, I believe. Any of our prizes winners, your account managers will reach out to you and get you your prizes. So Once again, guys, thank you so much. Thank you to the Dream Team. Thank you to the Ninjas, everybody that was here, everybody that attended. Thank you guys so much. We love what we do here, and we love you guys. We have the best customer base out there. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hope to see you guys next time. Take care.